Hello everyone. Today we are going to go into one more type of testing in the multivariate setup. Of course, the assumption would still be that the distribution underlying is multivariate normal. So this is a class of tests known as Hoteling's t-square statistic or Hoteling's t-square test. First of all, Hoteling's is name of a person who first worked on it. He was Harold Hoteling. So H has to be capital always. And the interesting part is this test is actually equivalent to your univariate t-tests. So when I say this is equivalent to univariate t-tests, what I mean is whatever you can do in the univariate setup via t-tests, similar things in the multivariate setup can be done via Hoteling's t-square statistic. Okay. So what are the things that we do in univariate using t-tests? There are three major types of hypotheses that we try to test. First is for single population. We did LRT also, which was similar. So that is, my null hypothesis is of the form mu equal to mu naught. Then you have two independent populations where your null hypothesis is of the form mu1 equal to mu2, and you also have two paired populations or dependent populations where again your H0 is of the form mu1 equal to mu2. So we know that the t-test could be used in any of these three scenarios. Of course, the statistic differs and the degrees of freedom differ and so on. So similarly, we are going to study Hoteling's t-square statistic, which can be used in similar scenarios in the multivariate setup. Okay. Let me first define the test statistic, state its null distribution, and then we'll see the application. We are not going to derive the null distribution. The proof is quite long, so I've decided that this time, due to everything that is happening, we would skip the proof because anyway the applications are more important. If you are interested, you can refer to some multivariate book and try to understand the proof. It mainly uses properties of Wishart distribution, which we have studied earlier. Okay. So let me first state the test statistic. So let U be a random vector such that U follows p-variate normal distribution with mean delta and variance sigma by c. Okay, so U is a random vector such that U follows p-variate normal distribution with mean delta and variance sigma by c. Further, let S be a matrix which follows Wishart distribution with k degrees of freedom and same sigma as in this U variance of U. Okay, so S is a Wishart matrix having k degrees of freedom and with parameter sigma. U and S are independent. When I say independent, you know it is statistically independent. Okay, so their PDFs, their joint PDF can be written as product of their individual PDF. So U and S are independent. Then in such a scenario, we define the Hoteling's t-square statistic. So Hoteling's t-square statistic is then defined as t square equal to c k u prime s inverse u. Okay, so t square is c k u prime s inverse u. What are these things? So c is coming from this sigma by c, k is coming from the degrees of freedom of this Wishart matrix, u is p-variate normal, u prime s inverse u. So u prime s inverse u is like a quadratic form. Okay. Of course, just knowing the statistic is not enough. We need to know its null distribution. What do I mean by null distribution? Null distribution is distribution of this test statistic under H naught. That is, when you assume that H naught is true, what would be the distribution of this test statistic? Because on the basis of that, we decide the cutoff for rejection. We decide the rejection region by studying the distribution of this statistic under H naught. So my H naught is going to be delta equal to 0 vector. Okay, my H naught is going to be delta equal to 0, and under this H naught we know that k minus p plus 1 upon p t square by k will have f distribution with p and k minus p plus 1 degrees of freedom. Okay, this is the major result. So the null distribution of the Hotelling t-square statistic is k minus p plus 1 by p t square by k, and it follows f distribution with p and k minus p plus 1 degrees of freedom. You can see here it is, t square by k is, let us call this t square by k as something. Then you have p from here and in k minus p plus 1. So you are adjusting for the degrees of freedom. As I said, we won't go into the derivation. How this turns out to be f, we won't go there. We would directly use this result, that if I am in a setup where I am interested in H naught of this type, so my H naught can be fit into this form, delta equal to 0, where delta is mean of some p-variate normal distribution, then I can use this setup to test my null hypothesis. Okay. Couple of quick clarifications. First of all, this f distribution is your usual univariate f distribution. This is not a multivariate f distribution or anything like that. Okay, it comes in the multivariate analysis paper, doesn't mean it is multivariate. As you can see, this is a quadratic form. So u prime s inverse u is a scalar, c and k are anyway scalars, so t square is a scalar, and all these are anyway again constant. So this entire thing is a scalar. So this is not a vector, and hence this f distribution is your univariate f distribution that you have always been using. Okay, please remember this. I have seen people telling me that okay, we have studied multivariate f in Hotelling t-square. No, we have not studied multivariate f so far, and we are not going to study, at least in this course. Okay, so this is univariate f. Second thing, I mentioned here that Hotelling's t-square statistic is equivalent to univariate t-test. Even though I am saying this, the distribution is not t. The distribution is f, simply because it is t square. You know that in the univariate setup also, t square is actually f distribution. That is your definition of f. Okay, t square is kind of f. So that is what is happening here. So instead of deciding your conclusion on the basis of t, you are making it on the basis of t square. So the distribution is f, but still as a test it is equivalent to t-test and not f-test. Okay, because you are comparing H naughts which are actually H naughts from the t-test setup. Okay, so now that we have this result, the definition of the Hotelling t-square statistic and its null distribution, we are going to see some applications. Okay, so what are the multivariate scenarios in which we can use these? So let us start with the very easy application, that is single sample case. So we are going to start with applications of Hotelling's t-square. So first case is single sample. So single sample, my H naught is going to be mu equal to mu naught. I am not going to say anything about alternate, because in the multivariate setup my alternate would always be of the type mu not equal to something. Okay, so either mu not equal to mu naught or mu 1 not equal to mu 2 and so on. We won't go for greater or less, because in multivariate setup we are going to compare two vectors. So if I want to say one vector is greater than second vector, I need to first define order in the multivariate setup, in the p-variate Euclidean space, which may not be so easy. Okay, because if some components are larger here and some components are larger here, then I have no relationship. I can't say this is large and so on. Obviously there are some complicated ways in which I can define order, but we are not going to go into those. Hence my alternative would always be of the type not equal to. I won't say greater or less. Is it okay? So single sample case, and hence here onwards I won't be specifying the alternative. I would just specify the null hypothesis. So in the single sample case, my null hypothesis is mu equal to mu naught. So if I want to test something like this, for example, one possible example is, okay, I have to check whether average GPA in the first semester is 6 and average GPA in the second semester is 5. Then I can have G1 as GPA of first semester, G2 as GPA of second semester, and I would test expectation of this G1 G2 is equal to 6 5. This becomes my mu naught and this becomes my mu, expectation of G1 G2. Okay, so in such a scenario, how to proceed? Now my definition of the Hotelling T-square statistic says I should come up with some u which has p-variate normal distribution and it should have mean delta, and under h naught that delta should be 0. Okay, so from this setup, can I come up with some u which will have mean 0? Now when I am testing this, what I have is, I have y1, y2, yn which are coming from p-variate normal with mean mu, variance covariance matrix sigma, and so this is like my IID sample, not like, this is exactly my IID sample, y1, y2, yn coming from np mu sigma, and my h naught is mu equal to mu naught. So I know that each yi has normal distribution, but the problem is their mean is mu and it is not 0 under h naught. Similar to this, even y bar will also have p-variate normal distribution with the same mean mu and variance sigma by n. Okay, we have studied this. I think I left this to you as homework. Y bar is p-variate normal with mean mu and variance sigma by n. So I'm still in the, things are not yet very easy for me because I'm still in a setup where under h naught my mean is not 0. So what can I do? If I want to make mean of something as 0, the only thing I can do is standardize. So if I define u as y bar minus mu naught, first of all, can I do this? Yes, I can, because mu naught is a known constant. So I can define u as y bar minus mu naught. Then under h naught, what would be distribution of u? U would of course be normal because it is just a shifted version of normal. So it would still be normal with mean mu minus mu naught, and variance would remain same because I am just adding a constant. So variance won't get affected. And we know that under h naught, this mu minus mu naught will be 0 because my h naught is mu equal to mu naught. So I would have u following np 0 sigma by n under h naught. Okay, so I am in the setup in which I can apply Hotelling's T-square thing. This obviously tells me that my c has become n because my sigma is sigma by n, so my c has become n. Now second thing I need for applying Hotelling T-square is some Wishart matrix S which has same sigma as the parameter, and u and s should be independent. Fortunately, we have some result which can be of use here. We know that if u is, we know that if x bar is normal, that is y bar is normal, then if y bar is normal, then the CSSP matrix is Wishart and it is independent of y bar. We have studied this result while doing estimation in multivariate normal. So I have CSSP matrix from this sample S, and we know that this S is Wishart with n-1 degrees of freedom and same sigma. Okay, so if you remember the proof, the degrees of freedom for this CSSP matrix were n-1. So this tells me that my K should be n-1. So I have K equal to n-1, C equal to n. So my T square statistic would be, T square we saw it is C K U prime S inverse U. So I would rewrite this as n because C is n-1 because K is n-1. Then U is, sorry, I am using y bar not x bar. Y bar minus mu naught prime S inverse y bar minus mu naught. Okay, n into n-1 y bar minus mu naught prime S inverse y bar minus mu naught. This becomes my T square, and we know what we want finally is T square by K, and we also have K minus P plus 1 upon P. P is actually dimension of this P variate normal and this S matrix. So we know P is P here. So K is n-1. So I would substitute n-1 minus P plus 1 upon P. T square is n into n-1 y bar minus mu naught prime S inverse y bar minus mu naught upon K is n-1. Okay, so this n-1 gets cancelled, this minus 1 plus 1 gets cancelled, so I am left with n minus P upon P into n y bar minus mu naught prime S inverse y bar minus mu naught, and we know that this follows F with P and K minus P plus 1. So P and K minus P plus 1 is going to be n minus P. Okay, so in this scenario, so I have my final test statistic and its null distribution as n into n minus P upon P y bar minus mu naught prime S inverse y bar minus mu naught. If you want to simplify further, you can write this as n minus P upon P. This n can go here, so I can have y bar minus mu naught prime S by n inverse y bar minus mu naught, right? This n went to denominator, so I have inverse. So this is n minus P by P y bar minus mu naught sigma hat, but this sigma hat is not under H naught. This is CSSP, so overall MLE sigma hat inverse, of course, y bar minus mu naught, and this we know follows F with P n minus P under H naught. Okay, now let us try to see if this test statistic makes sense. See, y bar minus mu naught is like deviation of sample mean from the mean under H naught, and this is like scaling by the variance covariance matrix. So you can see this is exactly equivalent to your univariate t statistic square. Okay, x bar minus mu naught square divided by sigma square. So it is exactly like that. Okay, of course you have to adjust for the degrees of freedom, because you know in F you have to divide numerator and denominator by respective degrees of freedom. So that is exactly what is happening over here. So this is first application of Hotelling t square, that is a single sample case where you have to test whether the given multivariate data has the given specified mean. Okay, now we will go to the second application. Second application is equivalent to your two sample test. Okay, so let me have y1, y2, yn1 coming from np mu1 sigma. Okay, y1, y2, yn1, this is an IID sample coming from np mu1 sigma, and let me say W1, W2, Wn2. This is an IID sample coming from mu 2 sigma. If you want, I can call it mu y, I can call it mu w. So life is easy. Okay. Y1, Y2, Yn1 is coming from mu y sigma. W1, W2, Wn2 is coming from NP mu w sigma. So the thing to be noted is sigma is common in both. Even in the univariate setup, you know that in independent sample t-test, we assume that the two populations have same variances. Here also we are continuing with that assumption. We will assume that both these sigma are same. Okay. And my H0 is, of course, I am interested in testing whether mu y is equal to mu w. That is, whether the two populations share the mean. Now, can you think of some p-variate normal vector which would have zero mean? At least in this scenario, I think it is pretty easy. So, if I define u as y bar minus w bar, what would happen? Expectation of u would be mu y minus mu w, which would be 0 under H0. Okay. So, we would define u as y bar minus w bar. So, if I want to say something about distribution of y bar minus w bar, I will need to assume that these two are independent. Okay. But we can assume that. So, if I have two independent populations, then I can say that their means are also independent, sample means, and hence the distribution of the linear combination of two independent normals would again be normal. Okay. So, because of this independence, I can now claim that u has p-variate normal distribution with mean 0 under H0 and variances would get added. So, sigma by n1 plus sigma by n2. Okay. Right, because they are independent, no covariance term, variances will just get added. Variance of y bar is sigma by n1, variance of w bar is sigma by n2. So this I can also write as sigma 1 upon n1 plus 1 upon n2, which would be sigma n1 plus n2 upon n1 n2. So if I want to say that this is equivalent to sigma by C, my C has to be n1 n2 upon n1 plus n2. Okay, my C has to be n1 n2 upon n1 plus n2. Noted? Okay. But just U is not enough. Of course, I need CSSP matrix. So S. Now, actually I have two different samples, so I can get two different S. So my SY, that is CSSP matrix based on Y, we know will have p-variate Wishart distribution with n1 minus 1 degrees of freedom and sigma, and SW will have p-variate normal distribution with n2 minus 1 and same sigma. Okay, SY and SW both will have p-variate Wishart distributions, but the degrees of freedom will be n1 minus 1 and n2 minus 1. Of course, since the original two populations are independent, I can say that these are also independent, and hence by additivity of Wishart, which we have already seen, SY plus SW will have Wishart with n1 plus n2 minus 2 and sigma. Okay, SY plus SW will have this distribution Wishart with n1 plus n2 minus 2 and sigma. So this becomes my K. n1 plus n2 minus 2 becomes my K. Now one quick thing, when I write SY plus SW, you have to remember that this CSSP matrix and this CSSP matrix are computed separately. So for SY, I use Y bar to subtract, and for SW, I use W bar. Okay, we are not computing a common CSSP matrix from the entire sample of size n1 plus n2. This is very important. Otherwise, our calculations will go wrong. Okay. So I now know C, I know K, I know S. So my S is actually SY plus SW. So let us write down the statistic. So my form of the statistic is CK U prime S inverse U. We know my C is N1 N2 upon N1 plus N2. K is N1 plus N2 minus 2. U is Y bar minus W bar prime. S is SY plus SW inverse Y bar minus W bar. Okay, so this is how my test statistic looks like. And we know, again we have to say that K minus P plus 1 upon P T square by K will follow F P K minus P plus 1. So if I substitute those things here, my K is N1 plus N2 minus 2 minus P plus 1 upon P. T square is this. So N1 N2 upon N1 plus N2, then N1 plus N2 minus 2 Y bar minus W bar prime SY plus SW inverse Y bar minus W bar. This entire thing is T square and K is in the denominator. K is N1 plus N2 minus 2, so this gets cancelled. Okay, this is minus 2 plus 1, so it will become minus 1. So N1 plus N2 minus 1 minus P upon P into N1 N2 upon N1 plus N2 into Y bar minus W bar prime SY plus SW inverse Y bar minus W bar okay, so this will follow F with P and K minus P plus 1 is N1 plus N2 minus 1 minus P. Okay, so this is my final test statistic. Okay, you can see here SY plus SW, you have to remember they are CSSP matrices, they are not estimates of variances, so you have not divided by N1 and N2 as of yet. But other than that, this is again something expected. So difference between the two sample means if that is 0, then you expect H0 to be true. Okay, so this is the second case, that is when you want to compare two separate populations. So any illustrations for this scenario? Suppose I have say males and females in a say professional organization, and I want to see if average number of years of experience, okay, number of years of service and the salary, if average of these two variables, is it same for males and females? If I want to check that, then I can use this test. My first variable is number of years of service, second variable is salary, and I would like to test whether for the male group and the female group these two are same or different. Okay, now the third application of Hertling t-square is in the setup which is equivalent to paired t-test. So what do you do in paired t-test? Generally paired t-test is used in a scenario where you have two dependent populations. So when I say dependent population, I know that most of you are used to seeing before after type of populations, what happens before taking medicine and what happens after taking medicine. But things need not always be in the before after setup. You can also have a setup where there is no before after, but there is a clear cut dependence. One classic example is if you are measuring say heights of adult siblings, and you want to see whether the firstborn and the secondborn, assuming say both of them are sons, do they have same heights. Now when you want to say, okay, I want to check whether the firstborn and the secondborn sons have the same height, you mean to say that firstborn son from a particular family. So if you have data on say F1, F2, F100, 100 families, here height of first son and height of second son, again height of first son, height of second son, and so on. So you want to compare height of this person with height of this person. You don't want this type of comparison. You don't want to compare height of person 1 from family 1 to person 2 from family 2. So this is again an example where your paired t-test is going to be of use. So in such scenarios, now how to handle Hotelling t-square, that is how to handle the multivariate setup. Now what we are going to do is, instead of saying we have two paired multivariate samples, we are going to combine those samples. So our test is actually more general. It is equivalent to paired, but it is more general. So let y1, y2, yn be IID observations coming from NP, mu, sigma. So my H0 is going to be of the type some mu I, not vector now, some mu I equal to mu j, where mu I, mu j are components of mu. Okay, so we are going to check whether some components can be said to be equal to each other. And it need not just be two components. You can actually have mu I, mu j and so on up to some mu k. Okay, you can test multiple components also. Or you may have say mu I equal to mu j as one hypothesis and then mu k equal to mu l as second hypothesis, and you want to jointly test these. Okay, let me give an example again. I will give you two examples. Again on the basis of GPS. So I have 4 GPS, G1, G2, G3, G4. I have recorded 4 GPS for each student. So one hypothesis that might be of interest to me is whether mu1 equal to mu2 equal to mu3 equal to mu4. That is, does a student remain consistent throughout all 4 semesters? This is one hypothesis of interest which can be tested using the technique that we are going to see now. Second hypothesis of interest can be whether the performance of odd sems is same and performance of even sems is same. Means whether mu1 equal to mu3 and mu2 equal to mu4. Why this is of interest? Because you know, in even sem there are going to be many activities, so people are generally more busy here. Odd sem there are less activities, so less busy. So does it matter? Another hypothesis of interest might be say mu1 equal to mu4. Means does the person perform same in first and last semesters? In most of the cases that is not the case. First semester it can go either way. Maybe in first semester you didn't understand most of the things, you didn't know the techniques and so on, whereas in fourth semester you were now completely comfortable and you got better. Or vice versa also, first semester you were very sincere and hence you did very well, whereas by the time you entered fourth semester you were almost ready to give up, so you didn't study much. So such type of hypothesis can be tested using this case. So how we are going to do that? So I will try 1 or 2 examples here, and then your job is to try more such examples. Okay, so let me try hypothesis of this type, that is all components are same. So my H0 is mu1 equal to mu2 equal to mu p. All components have same distribution. Now how do I construct a vector u which has mean 0? First of all, can I split this into multiples? So there are 2 ways. I can write this as mu1 equal to mu2, mu1 equal to mu3, mu1 equal to mu4, and so on till mu1 equal to mu p. So this set of conditions, can I say is it exactly equivalent to this statement? All mu i's are equal is same as mu1 is equal to each one of them. Okay, all mu i's are equal is same as mu1 being equal to each one of them. And how many conditions do I have? I have p minus 1 conditions, because 2, 3, 4 up to p. So p minus 1 conditions. Another set of conditions to say the same thing is mu1 equal to mu2, mu2 equal to mu3, mu3 equal to mu4, and so on. Mu p minus 1 equal to mu p. Okay, mu1 equal to mu2, mu2 equal to mu3, and so on up to mu p minus 1 equal to mu p. Again, the number of conditions here is still p minus 1. Okay, 1, 2, 3 up to p minus 1. So both these sets of conditions are actually equivalent to this original hypothesis that all mu i's are equal. Remember, here mu i's are components, so each of them is a scalar. We are trying to test whether every component has the same mean. Now how do I bring in u here? So this representation or this representation is going to be of help to us. So if I have y bar as y1 bar, y2 bar up to yp bar, we are going to define a new matrix. So I want mu1 equal to mu2. So I kind of want y1 bar to be equal to y2 bar. Okay, and so on. So let me write here in terms of mu. So I have mu1, mu2, mu p. So I want mu1 equal to mu2. So 1 minus 1, 0, 0, 0. Because my first entry would now be mu1 minus mu2. And under h0, I want this to be 0. Right? Under h0, I want mu1 minus mu2 to be 0. Similarly, I want mu1 minus mu3 to be 0. Similarly, I want mu1 minus mu4 to be 0, and so on. Okay, so mu1 minus mu3, mu1 minus mu4, and so on, mu1 minus mu p, and I want each one of them to be 0. Okay, so this matrix I can call as C. So my H, no, let me call as M, because I already have a C. So my H0 becomes M mu equal to 0. Instead of mu equal to 0, my H0 is M mu equal to 0. So I have to come up with some U which would have mean M mu. And isn't it obvious? We know that M y bar will have mean M mu. Right? Expectation of M y bar will be M mu. So my U is now M y bar. Okay, my U is M y bar, and we know from the theory of multivariate normal that this will have p-variate normal distribution with mean M mu and variance covariance matrix M sigma M prime. Okay, M y bar will have p-variate normal distribution, of course by n is here. M y bar will have p-variate normal distribution with M mu and variance covariance matrix M sigma M prime upon n, because y bar has variance covariance matrix sigma by n. Okay. Okay, so I have U, and this is not P. One second. What is the order of Y? Y is P cross 1, but M has order P minus 1 cross P. So this will be P minus 1 cross P, and hence this would have P minus 1 as dimension and not P. Okay, remember this is important. I have 1, 2 up to P minus 1. Sorry, I have 1, 2 up to P minus 1 components here. So I'll have P minus 1 dimensional normal distribution and not P dimensional normal distribution. This is very important. Okay, please remember. Now I want S. Of course, I would consider M, S, M prime. Okay. Again, by properties of Wishart, I know M, S, M prime will have P minus 1 dimensional Wishart with same degrees of freedom, that is n minus 1, and variance covariance matrix as M sigma M prime. Okay, so I want same variance coefficient matrix, hence I need to consider M as M prime. Even in the earlier case, we had to consider Sy plus Sw because we want the common sigma. Okay. Okay. Now, yeah, so with this U and with this S, which is actually kind of revised S, let us proceed. So my T square statistic is CK U prime S inverse U. So this I would write as, what is my C? My C is now N and my K is still N minus 1. So I would have N minus 1. My U is M Y bar prime. S is M S M prime inverse and U is M Y bar. Okay. So this becomes my T square, and we again will go to the same setup, that is null distribution. So we know K minus P plus 1 upon P T square by K follows F with P K minus P plus 1. Now one thing to be mentioned here, my P has now become P minus 1. Okay, so every P has to be replaced by P minus 1 and K is N minus 1. So I have N minus 1 minus, instead of P I will put P minus 1, plus 1 will remain as it is. This P will also become P minus 1. Let me keep T square as it is, and K is N minus 1. So this follows F with P minus 1, K minus P minus 1 plus 1. So this N minus 1 minus P plus 1. So this minus 1 plus 1 will get cancelled. So I'll have N minus P plus 1 upon P minus 1. T square upon N minus 1 follows F P minus 1 K minus P. Yeah, of course I didn't substitute K, so N minus P plus 1. It's going to be exactly this. Okay. So remember here my P has become P minus 1. Okay. Let me consider one more example in this scenario. So what happens if I, okay, no, before that one small thing I should mention. So here we constructed this C matrix, this matrix M, we constructed by using this set of conditions. But I could construct another M matrix by using this set of conditions, but the answer would exactly be same. And you can try to verify that this actually is result of the equivalence between contrasts. What is a contrast matrix? Contrast matrices are those matrices where row sum is 0. Okay, each row sum is 0. So if I have two contrast matrices, say C1 and C2, okay, if I have two contrast matrices C1 and C2 which represents similar set of conditions like here, then you can represent one of them in terms of other, and then you can prove that the Hotelling T-square computed from both of them would be equal. Okay, we are not going to go into the details, but simple thing you can do is try using both these and see if you get exactly same value of test statistic. Okay, try to compute, take some data and try to compute using R. Okay. Let me take another application of the same setup. Suppose I want to test, we did discuss one application here. What if I want to test whether mu1 is mu3 and mu2 is mu4? That is, all odd components have same mean and all the even components have same mean. Then I will write this as mu1 equal to mu3 equal to, say, mu. Let me assume that P is even. Okay, so I have mu2 equal to mu4 equal to mu P here, and here P minus 1. Okay, if P is even, Then I have 1 3 up to p minus 1, 2 4 up to p. This is my h naught. So this I can write as mu1 equal to mu3, mu1 equal to mu5, mu1 equal to mu7, and so on. Mu1 equal to mu p minus 1, then mu2 equal to mu4, mu2 equal to mu6, mu2 equal to mu p. How many conditions do I have? So 1 2 3, how many are these? So basically p is even, so I have p by 2 here and p by 2 here. So from these p by 2, so these conditions are p by 2 minus 1 in number, and these conditions are also p by 2 minus 1 in number, right? Because the number of components that I am saying are equal is p by 2, and of course mu1 is common in all of them, so p by 2 minus 1. Similarly p by 2 minus 1. So total number of conditions here is 2 times p by 2 minus 1, that is p minus 2, right? 2 times 2 will get cancelled here, so p minus 2. Okay, so I can construct my M matrix as 1 0 minus 1, because I want 1 and 3 to be equal, then 1 0 0 0 minus 1, because I want 1 and 5 to be equal, and so on till 1 0 0 minus 1 0 for p minus 1. Then I'll have 0 1 0 minus 1 0. So this line is for mu1 minus mu3 equal to 0. This line is for mu1 minus mu5 equal to 0. This line is for mu1 minus mu p minus 1 equal to 0. This line is for mu2 minus mu4 equal to 0, and so on. So 1 0 0 0 minus 1 0. So this is for mu2 minus mu6 equal to 0, and so on. 1 here I'll have minus 1, so 0 0 in between. So this line is for mu2 minus mu p equal to 0. Okay, so I have M matrix. Other things will be exactly same, but now my p has changed to p minus 2. Other than that, things are same. So do try to write down the distribution. Okay, what happens to t square, what happens to k minus p plus 1 and p. Okay, I will stop here. Thanks.